Shiv Panditt, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Armin. Pleasure's all mine.
Khuda Haafiz is receiving a very, very positive response. I have not been able to watch it yet. I have a newborn at home, so I have not been able to really carve out
congratulations.
time. Thank you.
Congratulations. I don't think any film can come in front of that because now you've got your hands on.
Well, it takes a long time to watch a film, right? You
Right,
almost have to catch bits and pieces of it.
Yeah. So you're excused. I mean, you get excused for not being able to watch the film.
But it's receiving a very positive response, and it's about time that a film like Khuda Haafiz, which is so big in scale, which is so big in the way that it's even presented in the trailers, in the promotion that has been done for it, it is about time that people are starting to recognize how good a film can be, regardless of sort of the blockbuster names that are attached to it, so to speak.
Right.
So that's what I'm really liking.
That has pretty much happened because of the advent of social media and because of the an avenue in terms of the online OTT space. That wouldn't have happened otherwise. There's so many actors who are now part of huge, big budget mainstream films who possibly may not have been part of those films earlier because their talents have now been recognized due to the various web series or digital films that they've been a part of. That people have stood up, taken notice, because the audience is wanting talented actors, technicians, etc., to all. So the digital revolution has certainly helped in creating a transparency in terms of that there is talent out there. It might be in one corner and nook of the country, but you can access it now, which was not there earlier.
At the same time, though, I know that of course you have had some experience in the OTT platforms before. You did Love with Netflix, I believe it was.
That's right.
And of course, it's a different feeling though with a film as big as Khuda Haafiz getting the digital platform release, because it's mixed feelings, right? You get to probably reach a much wider audience, probably globally, because of the fact that a lot of people are home right now. At the same time, when a film is shot the way Khuda Haafiz is shot, you sort of want to experience it on the big screen. What are your thoughts?
Well, yes and no to what you're saying. So, for example, while Love is not a big budget action extravaganza like how Khuda Haafiz is, the power of having Love on a platform like Netflix made me realize that now that the world is your oyster now, because I have had people from Panama, Estonia, Tunisia, Ecuador, you name it, the obscure countries where maybe Indian films don't penetrate as such in terms of, like these are countries which may not recognize anybody, maybe apart from Shah Rukh Khan or Amitabh Bachchan or Raj Kapoor, I'm talking about that league. But all of a sudden, I've been getting messages and I keep getting messages from people who have watched this film in these countries, and this is the only film of mine that they've seen. So they've not seen anything else because A, it's in English. B, they can translate the language to suit their needs on Netflix, and C, it's the film itself was a very international kind of a film. It wasn't the typical Bollywood Indian, it wasn't an Indian masala film in that sense. So Khuda Haafiz, on the other hand, is yes, a lot of people within India and countries where you'll have Indians and people who can speak Hindi and Urdu will watch the film. But again, it's on a terrific platform which has accessibility. Sorry about this curtain. I think there's a lot of wind blowing. This is the problem with shooting yourself at home. You've got these things to take care of. Anyway, so the thing is that Khuda Haafiz, on the other hand, was a great experience because all of a sudden, Indians in Canada, Indians in the US, in England, Australia, they will watch a film like this because it's a film which also has international locations. They can understand the language. So yeah, I mean it's a mixed bag. And yes, I would have loved for Khuda Haafiz to come on the theater because we had shot this film with lenses which we used, the kind of lenses that we used in Sholay, the film Sholay. It's these anamorphic lenses which give you a really wide kind of a expanse, and they shoot the whole landscape looks big, big, majestic,
Mhm.
you know, gigantic
Mhm.
in that sense. But you know, it is what it is. We've got to make the best of the situation. We are in the middle of a pandemic still currently. Having a release in the middle of a pandemic on a terrific platform, I think you have to be grateful about it rather than
Mhm.
hoping that, oh, I wish it came on the theaters, because you don't know how the theaters are going to respond. I mean, like we have Surya Vanshi in the Indian film industry, where everyone's sort of banking on that film to see what the audience's response would be, whether they would come or not. We've got Tenet in Hollywood. We've got the entire Hollywood industry sort of waiting to see how Christopher
Right.
Nolan is able to generate the audience's interest back into the theatrical viewing of a film or not. So
Mhm.
it's a mixed bag. You know, I'm just very happy we've taken this route, and it's helping us.
Mhm. And of course, with the ever rising popularity of the platform, people like me who probably can't get to a theater anytime soon, I'm
Sure.
able to actually sit there and watch all of this. So, I
Yes.
mean,
I
I think
I
that it's
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you because you can watch the film at your own pace. But there is when you're watching a film in a theater, you know the show is going to start at 9. So you're going to do whatever you need to do to get there at 9. Now you may pause the film for a bit. You might take a loo break. You might do this. You might do that. Your phone might ring. So yeah, there's it's a plus and a minus. But
mhm.
you know, uh, on the whole, overall scheme of things, I think it's better for the film to have come on the platform that it has.
Hmm. The character that you play requires a lot of training. It requires a kind of discipline, I think, that's required of an actor that may not be required in other kinds of roles. And of course, you need
Sure.
to have a certain command in terms of your dialect, in terms of the way in which you pronounce words. And there's a fine line between getting a character that has a certain cultural context and getting it right and making it caricaturish. There's a fine line.
You know,
And
you'll never know that fine line, because the thing is, when you go into a film, you don't go into it thinking, okay, I'm going to make it caricaturish, I'm going to make it
right.
dynamic. You don't know where it's going to land. So when you go into it, you go with your instinct, and you go with the director's instinct on it, because the director has envisioned the character a particular way. He has probably in his mind envisioned how the character sounds, how the character
Mm,
walks, thinks. So for me, what I like to do is I like to go with a very empty kind of a mind on a film
mm,
set, because I think the more stuff I load into it and go on a set, it will deflect the director's energy. So I like to absorb what direction the director wants me to take. Once I've understood which zone is he looking in, and he's looking at the character, then I sort of start to, you know, go back and forth with him in terms of some suggestions and things like that. And and the thing is, to be very honest with you, I don't really, when I'm playing a character like this who's Arabic, now I can try my level best. I mean, I have to speak certain Arabic lines, which I knew I had to. You know, so I worked on a diction coach and an Arabic dialect coach with for that. But even then, at the end of the day, you know, I may not be completely sounding Arabic to an Arabic person, but to everybody else who probably can't speak Arabic and who doesn't understand Arabic, for that part of the audience, you need to make sure that whatever you're doing, you do it very, very confidently.
mm,
You should not be unsure, even if you're speaking a certain line which may not sound correct to an Arabic person, but you, for everybody else, the more confidently you actually put across your dialogue delivery and your, you know, your mannerisms, the more the audience will believe what you're trying to sell them. If you don't
mhm,
yourself believe what you're doing, how do you expect the audience to buy into what you're selling? That's
mhm,
very important, I feel.
mhm. In a previous conversation, not with me, but with somebody else, you had mentioned that one of the things that really you found that really sold you on this film is the director's conviction. And you've talked about conviction yourself and sort of going in with an empty headspace, so to speak. What is it about the director, Faruk Kabir, which really sort of sold you? What was it about his conviction? Because Khuda
See,
Haafiz,
what happens is that when somebody approaches me to do a film, I have a long way to go, and I realize that. And I'm not just saying that because it's something which sounds nice to say on camera or in an interview. I have a long way to go, you know. It's the craft that I'm in is a developing craft. It keeps developing over time. It's not something that you reach the pinnacle and you realize you reach the pinnacle. It's a
Mm.
work in progress throughout your career. People get more refined with experience. So you keep and you'll keep finding different aspects of your personality to bring in front of the camera with time, age, experience, maturity, etc., etc. So for me, what happens is that if the director who is selling me what he is in terms of the film or the character, I need to understand, is he clear about what he's doing? If
Mm.
he is clear, then it makes it that much easier for me to follow him. Because if he's sort of confused that, okay, maybe I'll shoot you like this, maybe I'll shoot you like that, why don't you try the dialogue this way? Why don't you try? If he himself is not sure about his line of thought, what that does is it's like suicide to the actor because the actor gets so confused that he doesn't know where to go, what to do. So even if my director makes a really crappy film, but if he does it confidently, I'll follow him down.
Mhm.
I'll sink with the ship because at least we know that we were doing something that we believed in. It
Mm.
didn't work. It didn't work. And nobody sets out to make a bad film. You know what I'm saying? Everyone sets out to make a good film, put their
Mhm.
best foot across, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Similarly with Faruk. Faruk was so sure. He knew every shot he wanted to shoot. He knew what angles he wanted to take. He knew how the character would walk, talk, behave. So and I think I suspect on some level Farooq Kabir is essentially Faiz Abu Malik. He himself is an embodiment of Faiz Abu Malik because Farooq was so much in love with this character of Faiz Abu Malik. And every time I used to speak to Farooq about this character, there was a certain relish in his tone, and there was a certain, he used to almost be like licking his lips, and telling me about this character. So he had this real interest, like vested interest in this character becoming dynamic. And I was like, man, this is a win-win for me. Here's a guy who really wants to prop this character up and make it a dynamic character. And he really and he told me, he said, trust me, just do the film. You won't regret it. And it's the best decision I ever made. I'm so glad I did the film.
Mm. You've obviously you've been on FIR television. You've done Netflix, and of course, you've also been an assistant director, Desi Boys, Roy, to name a few.
That's actually my sister. My sister is the one who's an assistant director, not me.
Oh, you did not do any
Yeah.
assistant directing at all.
No, I didn't.
Interesting.
I did. I was thinking about doing it. I was thinking about doing it because this was early in my career, and I was shooting a commercial, an Airtel commercial with Shad Ali, the director of Jhoom Barabar Jhoom and many films, Bunty or Bubbly. And Shad gave me a really lovely break in the beginning of my career where I did a lot of commercials with him. And I went up to him one day when I was shooting a commercial with him in Kerala, and I asked him that, Shad, do you think I should also become an assistant director? And I actually really credit Shad for this. Shad turned around and told me that, listen, तुम acting करने आए हो, acting पे ध्यान दो. And which is true. And I have never spoken about this to anybody else. It's surprising that I just remembered this right now. But Shad is the reason why I never sort of pursued any assistant director gig. Because it was that trend was going, not trend, but I saw a lot of aspiring actors of becoming assistant directors. Maybe it was a way to get a foothold into the production house or get a job with the director. But I asked Shad that. He said, no, just focus on acting. And I'm glad I did that because acting is a job like anything else. And the more you focus on it, the more you'll excel in it. The more you deviate from it, the more your mind is going to have different things in it. So it should be like, you should be like a horse with blinders.
So taking from that, then, first of all, the internet is wrong. Then that means,
Yeah.
But when you look back at all of your experiences and look back at the fact that you've had this conversation that assistant directing may actually divert you from your path somewhat, what is the biggest learning lesson that you've had in terms of being an actor, whether it be a small role, a big role, a television role? What's the single most learning lesson that sticks in your mind today?
I think it's very important to be a working actor. I think a lot of people come here looking for the starry-eyed surprise that they envision themselves, because the whole cinematic viewing experience is so majestic. You can't help but buy into it, and see yourself in a way, and glorify yourself and imagine yourself in a glorified kind of way. So it's while that may be great, and it's true, it's lovely to see yourself like that, but you have to be practical, and it's important to be a working actor, because to achieve that whole glorification and that starry-eyed, that wow factor, there's a lot which goes behind it. There's a lot of people's effort. There's a lot of people supporting you, propping you up. There's a lot of years of experience which you have to garner and sort of inculcate within yourself, so that when the time comes for you to get that opportunity where suddenly you get a role like that, you shouldn't fall short. Some people, it's easier for them. They get it, but that's their destiny, and you shouldn't bitch them out for that, or you shouldn't make them feel bad about it. They were born into it. That's their destiny. It's as simple as that. Your destiny is maybe a different path. Your destiny. So you have to realize who you are, where you're from, accept it, and accept it, and also imbibe it, and then accordingly, be practical about your approach towards the whole film industry. Because if you're just going to sort of come and think and just come and just land up and think that everyone's waiting for you with a garland at the airport, they're not. It's a very, very selfish industry in terms of everyone has their own vested interests, because that's what a business is. A business is about vested interests. A business is about, making a return on your investment. So if you're not going to be a healthy investment for your producer, then no producer is going to work with you. It's a business. It's not driven by emotion. It's driven by monetary factors, So you have to realize that and look at it like that.
That's an interesting take. I don't think that a lot of people would have the candor to say it like that, but it's an interesting take, and I think it's a valid take for sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, you talked about it being driven by monetary means, but at the end of the day, there is emotion attached, in the sense that as an actor, especially because as an actor, you're in the public eye, your rejections are out there for the world, your disappointments are out there for the world, your successes are out there for the world to see. How do you deal as an actor with those emotions in the framework that you set out, which is that it is essentially a business? How do you deal with that?
Well, you're absolutely right about that, because within our country, the three most popular fields which are under the public scrutiny is sport, cricket primarily, and
Yes.
Politics and the film industry. So these are the three industries in our country which have maximum coverage in terms of eyeballs. People are really, they know what's happening. So I won't lie to you. I've gone through, and I still go through them on a daily basis. So sometimes I've gone through ups and downs in my life, and stuff does when you don't. It's a creative field, so when something doesn't happen, you feel bad about it, which is a normal human emotion. But how long you feel bad about it is up to you. You want to waste a day feeling bad about it. You want to waste a week. You want to waste a month. That's up to you, because nobody's going to come and wipe your tears, and nobody's going to come and give you a hanky to say, okay, don't worry, it's going to happen. You got to figure shit out for yourself. So something what I really am grateful for to God, which I figured out a long time ago, is that I never really considered the industry like a family or something that I'm here and this is my family now and screw everyone else who I knew before. No, I've always treated the industry like an industry, like a place of work. I have never lived, even in Bombay, I don't live in the thick of where all the offices are, all the actors live. I live a little bit of a distance away from that. The reason being because then when I go to work, I know I'm driving to work and I'm driving back from work. I've had a lot of my friendships are from people from school, from college, some people who are not from the industry. So actually, believe it or not, when I hang out with my friends, there's hardly anyone from the industry as such who's there. And I have a lot of my friends who remind me where I'm from and what my actual scene in life is with them and what my standing is. I'm not an actor to them. I'm nobody to them. I'm just their friend who they've known for years. And so that gives me some sort of a relief from not talking films, being films all the time. It gives me that separate ejection and a bit of a relief. And I think the three main important things which a lot of people don't realize is that acting should be viewed from, according to me, this is my personal opinion, but acting should be viewed from three very specific points of view. One is financial stability, one is mental stability, and one is emotional stability. You see, it's all well and good to come and become an actor here, but you've got to see how much bucks do you have in your pocket to last you, because it's not every day you'll get a job. You may not get one for another year. So you can't just come here, then not get lucky, then go back and bitch about the industry by saying, oh, I didn't get a job, I wasted all my money. But that's because you didn't plan your financial calendar properly. If you know that you have to survive on act, you can't just survive on acting. You've got to figure some other avenue out, till you make it, till you start becoming a working actor and start rolling. I talk about emotional stability because I think you need to be tight with your family. You need to be tight with friends from school, so who you can talk to, you can just generally, you can vibe with, and, have that kind of someone to that relief and mental focus, because, you've got to realize that no one's going to help you but yourself. If you're waiting for the world to come and help you, they won't. So you need to be very strong here to face rejection, because you're going to get a lot of it. So you need to figure these three pillars out for yourself. And the only reason I can speak to you with such clarity today is because I have been working in front of the camera since 2005. And it's been 15 years of learning, which I'm telling you today. I probably would not have known this 10 years ago, 8 years ago, but it's probably in the last 15 years of working in front of the camera and going up and down, that I have maybe just recently sort of got some sort of a semblance of an idea as to how to, kind of figure my way out in the industry. So, and there's still a long way to go. So you don't know what's going to hit you when. But yeah, it's a work in progress, like I said.
Practical words of wisdom is what I think of when I'm listening to you speak right now. Practical, but words of wisdom. What are some words of wisdom that you received from somebody in your personal sphere that helps you even today?
Someone very dear to me once told me that love the journey, but love the journey more than the destination. Because you see, the thing is, oftentimes what happens is we are so focused on the destination, we forget to smell the roses along the way. We forget to take a stop along the way and see all the good that's happening for us. We concentrate on, oh, this is not happening and that's not happening and I'm not reaching there yet. But there's so much good happening that I find it earlier also. I used to, and this is something I've learned over time, whenever I used to feel bad about, oh, I'm not there yet, I later realized, you're being such an ass that you're going on complaining and you're saying you're not there yet. But look at where you are today. There might be 100 and 1,000 people who want to be where you are. Have you ever realized that? And oftentimes you don't realize that, because there's so many people who might be wanting to be where you are today, and you are wanting to be somewhere there. So it's a vicious cycle. So you need to understand, man, it's going to happen for you whenever it's going to happen, but don't focus on that. Just keep working. And when I adopted this methodology of just working, believe me, my mindset, my approach, everything became different. It became positive. It became more industrious, because even if I didn't get a big project that I was vying for, I did something else. And now, because of the different avenues that we have in the industry, you only have yourself to blame if you're sitting idle. You can do a web series, you can do an OT digital film, you can do a short film, you can do a commercial, you can do theater, you can do a feature film. I mean, it's like there's like tons and tons of work. There's a lot of work out there.
So what's next in terms of your journey ahead? I know that there's a couple of projects in the pipeline.
That's right. I'm doing a film called Shersha, which is
Yes.
under production at the moment, and really looking forward to. I'm hoping that both Rohit Shetty and Christopher Nolan can bring about a worldwide change, so that the robust audiences return to our cinemas, and we can have a lovely theatrical release for that film, because it's a lovely war film, which obviously the bigger the scale, the better it will seem visually. So hoping, fingers crossed for that, and doing another. There's another indie film called Zindagi Kashmakash. That's also sort of just getting ready for it's in post production at the moment. A couple of other projects, and you should be seeing a lot more of them, because last 2 years I've sort of just worked, just kept my head down and kept working. Didn't speak to anyone about any work as such. Didn't talk about my work as such. And now I think post this whole restrictions, when they get lifted, you'll probably seeing a regular release calendar for me now.
Wonderful. Looking forward to it. Always looking forward to the kind of work you do. I remember you from FIR, and interestingly, a lot of those television shows have been accessible to us in North America for a very long time. So
Right.
looking forward to much more work with you, and looking
Thank you.
forward to seeing Khuda Hafiz. Fingers crossed this
Well,
week.
only for you because you have a newborn. You can take as many breaks as you want, but you got to finish the movie.
I will definitely finish it. It's on my list of things
Right.
I really want to watch because
Right.
I've always admired Vidyut Jammwal for the kind of
Oh, he's a
work that
lovely
he's
guy.
done.
He like I was talking to you about, I was talking to you about having a very practical approach towards the film industry. This guy, Vidyut, I have, he is such a consistent worker. He may not have a film, he may not be doing a film. I have been so lucky to have made his acquaintance in Khuda Hafiz that I have learned something from him. And I feel whenever you learn something from somebody, it's a really good relationship to have because, and Vidyut is always working. And I like that. I like that he's either concentrating on his digital stuff, he's making videos, he's trying to propagate Kalaripayat, which is the martial arts form. And he's such an intelligent guy and such a hardworking, industrious guy. I'm very happy that I got to work with him in this film because I think you need to surround yourself with people who have that kind of vibe and energy, because that when that sort of rubs off, and then some magic happens, and I hope once you see Khuda Hafiz, you might find that magic in the film.
I think I will. I mean, the trailer looks phenomenal, and I'm a huge fan of also Ahana Kumra.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
think that
she's a
everything will
great
go
she's
well.
become a great friend as well now.
Wonderful. So it all in all, it seems like I'm in for a very, very wonderful watching experience.
Yeah,
So
yes,
fingers
yes,
crossed I
you are.
get through it this week.
Yes, you are.
And thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for
It's a
the
pleasure,
chat.
Armin. Thanks so much for having me and talking to me. It was a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. And I hope to chat with you when my next project is out. And we'll probably chat more regularly now because my stuff will be coming out more
Yes,
regularly.
definitely, definitely keep me in mind, and I'll keep in mind that you know what, this was such a great conversation, such a real conversation. So I look forward to many more.
Thank you so much. Pleasure was all mine. Thanks a ton.